forget about the higher good of food, right? You're growing a product that people enjoy really all over the world.
Hey, it's New Thought Talk. I'm your host, the Reverend Steve Walling from the Spiritual Awareness Center located in beautiful Fresno, California. Fresno, the heart of the Central Valley, the heart of the state of California. And as I like to say each week, we got a whole lot of heart going on here today. Welcome to the show. I hope when you started your day out this morning, before you even open your eyes, that you claimed the day as the gift that it was given to you to experience, to express at ever greater and higher degrees of livingness. And that's why we're here, to learn, to share more, so that each and every day, each and every one of us can do that. And I've been talking to a friend of mine, and just kind of comparing notes. And one of the things that I believed that Dr. Ernest Holmes really meant, and he said it in more than one place, was that when we put these spiritual principles into practice in our life, each and every one of us individually, that we are creating not only a better, more abundant life for ourselves, but a better and more abundant life in the world. And that's an awesome thought when we think about it. And, there is that much power within each and every one of us. There is a power and a presence for good that's available to us at the level that we open ourselves up and utilize it in creating our day-to-day life experience. So we started on the book, and it was originally titled this thing called Life. Currently in print, it's called The Art of Life by Dr. Ernest Holmes. This follows, I did a couple weeks, 3 or 4 weeks, where we talked about life, not so much from a spiritual perspective, but life is energy. Life is the life that you live and experience. Life as the creativeness of all that is. When we talk about, when Holmes said there is but one life, and then he often followed that up with that life is God, or he said that life is perfect, or maybe even both of those things, talking about this concept of one life. And there is but just one life, and it's living today, the same life that was living 2,000 years ago, the same life that was living many, many years going back to the beginning of life on this planet. There's one life. It's expressing in each and every one of us as an individualized aspect, but it's still just that one life. And as we make ourselves aware of that, and we begin to seek out for ourselves the meaning of that as we express our individual life, some awesome things open up to us. Some awesome things can unfold in our life. The practice, the spiritual practice of what we call the science of mind, or New Thought. This idea of a philosophy of faith, a way of life, a way of living. It's when you begin to open yourself up to that as part of your day-to-day life experience and your day-to-day life owning of your day, being a co-creator in your day, and knowing that no matter what the day brings, no matter what life will come at you with, so to speak, that you have a bigger God that is your partner, your guidance, your guardian. And when things get a little tough, God is still there, because wherever you are, God is there. And that's an awesome thought. So moving forward in this book, last time we went through chapter 1. I didn't think I was going to spend so much time doing chapter by chapter when I first started, but I'm not gonna limit how we go through this. If we get one chapter done, or we get 5 chapters done in a particular show, we're just gonna go with the flow, so to speak, because there's a lot of stuff here. So anyway, chapter 2. Holmes opens this chapter up. He says, "It is said that Jesus, walking through the multitude, diffused a healing power which touched people into wholeness by its divine presence." A healing power which touched people into wholeness. Awesome. His command stilled the wind and the wave. His knowledge of spiritual law fed the thousands. His consciousness of peace calmed the troubled mind. His love was as a healing balm to the sick. Jesus possessed a transcendent power. And then Holmes says, "Have you asked yourself, why can't I perform the same miracles?" Man, that's a big bite to look at, isn't it? And yet, there was nothing that this fellow that we call the master teacher taught that was exclusive to him. Matter of fact, he taught that what he did, those that embodied what he taught would be able to do and more. Think about that. He says, Dr. Holmes says, why can't I live a life of magic? And he answers that. He says, I think you have. I have, and everyone has. And there's those moments in our life when it's like serendipitous, that you realize in that moment it's like life is firing on all cylinders or hitting on all notes if you look at it from a musical viewpoint, or painting a full rainbow if you want to do it that way. It doesn't make any difference how you want to define it for yourself, but in those moments it's like awesome, and that awesomeness in that moment. And then the moment passes, and we ask ourselves today, well, if I experienced that once, why can't I experience that maybe again? How about experiencing it on an ongoing basis? And then our rational mind begins to feed us all the reasons, all the excuses, if you will, all the pre-written scripts that we hold in our memory, in our consciousness, as to why we're limited as individuals, why we're limited as the particular person that we are. And in truth, the availability of a unlimitedness to us sits there in potential, awaiting us to recognize it, and in that recognition, opening ourselves up to the being a recipient of, at the level of our belief. Imagine that, right? He says Jesus continuously brought the invisible power of life, with a capital L, the principle, divine life, to bear upon his environment. He told his followers that what he was doing they could do if they believed they could. What do you believe today? Do you believe that life is limited? Do you believe that you are subject to this limitation? Do you believe that whatever is holding you back in your life, whether it be in relationship, health, whether it be in your ability to express yourself, whether it be financially, whether it be in creativeness, those things are ripe, if you will, in potential, awaiting you to look at them, open yourself up to them, and allowing that potential to become actualized in your life. Potential needs an actualizer. You provide that through your belief, through your faith, in your mind. The mind you use is the same mind that Jesus used. It's the mind of the divine as your individualized, your personalized aspect of it. It's available. He says, when we turn to the teachings of Jesus, we find them direct, simple, and understandable. Holmes goes on to say that he said, I am come that they might have life and they might have it more abundantly. Now, you're either part of the they or you're not, but your inclusion in that is entirely your choice. But oftentimes, as we get caught up in our day-to-day life experience, we don't believe that about ourselves. We don't see that in ourselves. And yet it's laid out there. Again, it's in potential, that we can have life. When I was going through and talking about living life and our purpose in living life, in Troward's Edinburgh lectures, and he talks about our purpose for being here is to live life at ever greater and higher degrees of livingness. Ever greater and higher degrees of livingness. We can't do that unless the potential is there for us to do that. And it is. But we have to begin to look for it. We have to begin to believe in it. We have to begin to have faith. We have to begin to put it into practice in our life. And one of the things about what Holmes taught through Science of Mind is the idea of practice. And I often refer to utilizing spiritual tools in daily practice. What are we talking about? Well, we're talking about daily meditation. It's an awesome practice on many levels, but besides the fact that it's good for the body and it's good for the mind in general, it's also good for a learning experience for our consciousness and our will, such that we can bring our mind, our will to a point of focus and hold it there. And that's a skill that we learn. It's something most of us are not fortunate enough to be born with, but it's available to all of us. The importance of knowing that, knowing how to do that, is as we begin to take control of our day-to-day life experience, what we want to see expressed in our life is a direct reflection of the trend of thinking, the trend of thought that we allow through our mind, our consciousness, both in a conscious way, but in a conscious kind of back of the mind trend of thought, trend of thinking. There's somebody that I know that, and I've talked to this person, and it's a work in progress, the best I can tell you. But no matter what happens, their first response is to question with the concept of what is the darkest thing that can happen in whatever it is that we're talking about. Where do you think that person's life is directed when that's what they see first thing, and it's a reflex response within them in consciousness? It's a pretty tough place to get started from, but they can. Matter of fact, they're beginning to work on it. Starting from an idea that where I'm at right here, right now, that there is a power and a presence for good that is available to me. It's an awesome idea. We're going to take our first break. We're going to pick it up from there, and I'll see you when we come back.
With Organic Pastures Raw Milk, you're getting a product that has been meticulously managed from grass to glass. From our pastures to our dairy, creamery, and distribution, we work hard to produce a product that is safe and clean for you.
Got lactose intolerance or dairy allergies? Discover delicious raw milk and discover dairy the way it's supposed to be. We provide tours and would love to see you. Come visit the cows, watch the milking, the cheese being made, and learn all about raw milk. We're just 20 miles south and west of Fresno, California. Call to schedule a tour at 559-846-9732.
The Saga of Bridget and Amanda by Carol Love Forbes brings to life the struggles of historical women in early America. Find the Saga of Bridget and Amanda on Amazon and Barnes & Noble and order your copy today.
You enter this door with expired tags. Beyond is another dimension, a dimension of regulations, a dimension of long waits. You have reached the registration zone. What looks like an ordinary shop is actually Mitchell Smog, located in the heart of the Tower District, a few minutes from the DMV. Mitchell Smog offers your vehicle a STAR-certified smog inspection. So remember Mitchell Smog when you need to pass through the registration zone.
Christy Majors is your local real estate connection. With a solid, hard-working team, traditional listings, short sales, probate listings, and foreclosures are treated in a personal and caring way and closed in a timely fashion. Since 2009, Team Majors has closed more than $75 million worth of homes all over California. Reliable and trustworthy, Christy and her team will go the extra mile for every client, whether selling or buying a home. So give Team Majors a call at 559-464-5606 or visit teammajors.com.
If your home floods, who will you call? When your house springs a leak, it's time to call Clean Master Emergency Flood Service at 559-213-9430. Clean Master will be there in 60 minutes to start fixing your home. And Clean Master bills your insurance directly, saving you the hassle because you've got enough to worry about. Clean Master also offers carpet and upholstery cleaning, carpet repair, pet odor removal, and more. Remember, Clean Master Emergency Flood Service, 559-213-9430, and visit cleanmasterflood.com.
Welcome back to New Thought Talk. I'm your host, the Reverend Steve Walling from the Spiritual Awareness Center in Fresno, California, and we're working our way through this thing called life, written by Dr. Holmes. We're in the second chapter. I'm not going to go through this paragraph by paragraph like I did previously, but I want to touch on some things. In the second chapter, Dr. Holmes is talking about the teachings of Jesus. And some people have, and I've run into this from time to time, have questioned why we talk about the teachings of Jesus when we're talking about New Thought. You have to understand that what he taught was basically the foundational understanding of what religious science or New Thought is about philosophically as a spiritual way of living. He's not the only one that taught it, but as Dr. Holmes has said from time to time, he's the one that taught it in the most concise and understandable way. So as we move forward, this is why when Dr. Holmes is talking about life, this thing called life, your life, my life, and life as a living experience, but also life as a spiritual experience, he's laying this foundation here. And so we go on here. He says, Jesus never claimed to be different. He says, we don't know how he acquired this information. He was a happy, radiant soul. And he goes on to say that he is told, and again, Holmes reemphasizes this in this chapter, if you wish to do what I am doing, follow the few simple truths that I have given you. And that's where we are. That's what we need to realize for our own life experience. He says, what was the remedy for the issues and the remedy that this man taught? It was to open our spiritual eyes, to listen with an inner ear, to open our minds, to open our consciousness, to open our hearts, and to begin to see life from that perspective and understand that life is lived from the inside out, not the outside in. That as we go through our day, it's like I said in the beginning, when we awaken in the morning, claim that day. It's important that we do that. Not only do, in today's world, there's a lot of literature in the psychological areas of study that talk about that point in time in the morning when we're just coming into awareness and consciousness, that our subconscious, subjective mind is more open to be impressed upon, that's a powerful part of our beingness, that subjective mind. We've talked about that in the past, but we can claim, we can set our focus for the day, and all that happens in that first very short period of time. And you say, well, yeah, but I'm just waking up, and it's something that we learn to do, and you just begin to practice, and you will get better. Practice in all things. Practice, and practice makes not perfection, but improvement. And that's what we want to do in our lives. So we practice this, right? So we open our spiritual eyes. We listen with our inner ear. And he goes on to say that it is not true that we seek, or is it not true that we seek wholeness in the external? And he's talking about what most of us do. Okay, we look to the outside. We look to the outside for love, for happiness, for self-worth, for just about everything, right? Like I just said, it starts within ourselves. Happiness is not something that the outside can give us. Yeah, we can get things that will make us happy in the moment, if you will. A new car, for example, a new relationship, whatever. But over time, the shine goes away, the excitement diminishes. But true happiness we create within ourselves. And that's not a happiness like a giddiness. It's a happiness that is defined by being at peace within ourselves, being at harmony within ourselves, recognizing the beauty no matter where we're at, and knowing that, again, it's an inner level of confidence because, we have a recognized source within ourselves, a bigger God than anything that we can deal with. And so Holmes gives us some things to think about here. He says, and these are under ifs. If one were really unified with his true self, there would never be any question about friendship. If you're unified with yourself, If one were really unified with substance, there would never be any question about supply. If you're unified with yourself, if one were unified with wholeness, he could not be unhappy. If you're unified with yourself, if one were conscious of his union with life, he would never fear death. If we're unified with ourselves, and what are we talking about? There's that exists within us, that, it's often said that we live and move and express and experience life within the divine, that God lives through us as us, however you want to phrase that. In him we live, we move, we have our beingness. We're surrounded by. We are in the image and likeness. There's many different ways that you can describe this to yourself, but the bottom line is that if you understand there's just one life, that life is the creativeness, consciousness, force, principle, power, God, goddess, whatever. Still just one life, expressing as you, expressing as me. We're individualized aspects of it, but there is that greater unity of which we are all a part of. And that's important. It's another one of those things that oftentimes, New Thought, religious science people, they get it insofar as like they're doing their daily prayer, their daily treatment work. They talk about unity, oneness with God, but yet as they live out their life day to day, they define themselves and the other as those outside of themselves. And in that defining themselves and the others, oftentimes there's judgment, there's fear, hatred, so on and so forth. As we do that, in our innermost being, we have walled ourselves off at some level from that which exists within us, seeking to express itself at ever greater and higher degrees through us. So it's important that we learn that love and happiness comes from within. As I've said many times, boundaries can be a good thing, but whatever's on the other side of that boundary is still God expressing as whatever's on the other side of that boundary. It's important that we realize that. It's important that we embody that. It's important that we live it in our life, okay? Moving forward, Holmes says, no matter how many thoughts of doubt enter your mind, just mentally brush them aside. Now, that's a big bite for a lot of people. No matter how many thoughts of doubt enter your mind. Remember that person I was talking about in the previous segment? Doubt has an encampment in that person's mind. For some people, it's fear. For some people, it's lack of self-worth. For some people, it's a belief in limitation and whatever. I mean, run the gamut. If it's not life-affirming, if it's not life-generating, if it's not providing for ever greater and higher degree of livingness in your life, chances are that within your belief system, you have created a niche where it lives. And it's time to root it out. And we root it out through practice, through our meditation, through daily affirmations, through daily affirmative treatment, and daily study. Whether you choose to watch the shows that we have, and we got a bunch of them on YouTube or our Facebook pages, New Thought Talk, or my personal page, Steve Walling, or the Spiritual Awareness Center, or wherever. They're out there, and there are other individuals. But hold yourself to a daily commitment of continuously seeking to grow your faith, grow your belief, and in that growth embody ever greater and higher degrees of it, and seek to, Holmes talks about creating right thinking in our thought, our trend of thought. That's one way of looking at it. Creating thinking that is not self-limiting. Creative thinking that is supportive. However you want to, again, define that for yourself. Make it work for you, because how you understand it is the most important thing when it comes to you putting it into practice in your life. He says, meet every doubt that enters your mind with greater faith. Meet every confusion with a deeper sense of calm. Take time to do this. Practice every day. Take time, not just casual time, but take time as specific time, dedicated time, committed time. As you do that, you're telling yourself it's important. When you tell yourself something's important, think about what that does to your consciousness. Things that you tag as being important, not that you just say are important, but things that you say and believe are important. You know, that doctor's appointment or that, appointment or whatever. You can do this. You have all the tools that you need readily available to you because it's done in mind. It's done within yourself, no matter who you are, no matter where you are. Life can put us in some very tough circumstances. And if you've studied history and you've studied, a lot of the things that have gone on in the past and even in the world today, sure. But what life can't do is take from you your ability to think. If you realize you have the ability to think, if you realize that there is power in the thought that you think, then you're already on your way to creating a different life experience and expression for you. And I'm not saying that it's great or easy depending on where you're at, but what I am saying is that there is a way up and out. And the divine principle, God has given that to you by way of potential for you to discover, to put into practice in your life. And when we talk about life, this thing called life, that's what we're talking about. So Holmes goes on to say, start your day with peace and you will live in peace. Kind of what I've been saying, right? He says, peace is the power of the heart of God, and God is in you even as he, she, it, that, they, whatever you want to, is in everything. Everything. No space, no place where God is not. You're there, God's there, and if you open yourself up to it, then all is well, right? He says, if you think of life as always bringing to you everything you need, you will have formed a partnership with the invisible. If you think of life as bringing to you everything you need, not just as an intellectual thought, but if you think of that as a belief, an embodied acceptance, a realization, just like you think of the sun rising tomorrow and setting tomorrow evening, just like you think of other things that happen every day in your life, okay? And you can do this. He says, the spiritual gifts which people have so earnestly sought after out of anguish of their incompleteness are not something which a reluctant deity has withheld from them. God withholds nothing when you begin to understand that God withholds nothing. The potential is always there, awaiting the actualizer. You are that actualizer, your mind. Your mind that you think with is some part of the mind of God, expressing in life as you, that one life. That life is your life. That life is God's life. That life is awesome when you open yourself up to it. But you got to do the opening, right? So he says, the one who would heal hate must first learn to love. And this is a reoccurring theme that Holmes comes back to again and again. And I touched on it a little bit ago. We've got to understand the importance that love plays in the depth and breadth of our moment-to-moment life experience. And that love doesn't come from the outside. That love comes from within us. And if you've experienced life, and people have, where their story it's a tough story. And I'm not saying that, everything is going to be just peaches and cream right off the bat. No matter how tough your story is, there's still a way out. There's still light in that darkness. And once you begin to realize that, once you begin to own that for yourself, you'll find that story begins to have less and less authority and power over you as you go through your day-to-day life experience. It's yours. You own it. Claim it, okay? Moving forward, he says, the one who would have a beautiful life must commune with beauty. The one who would give happiness must first become happy. The one who would heal a sense of loss must first have arrived at an inner realization of wholeness. None of this comes from the outside. And yet, we've been trained from birth that all our good comes from the outside, right? But it doesn't. And this is what we're here to realize. You know, one of the things that we talk about in New Thought is the idea of coming to humanity, coming to that point of I amness. And there's a lot that goes along with that. But for right now, for our purposes of today's discussion, in that I amness, that's when we begin to claim ownership. But it's also as we understand our I amness, we have a recognition of our ability to think in abstract, in spiritual terms. You know, Jesus told the woman at the well that God is spirit. We have to worship God in spirit. You can't grasp that without the ability to think in abstract terms. That's part of the gift of our I amness that we have as humanity. Troward says the highest degree of livingness contains within it the highest level of intelligence. And he's not talking about IQ intelligence, he's talking about the ability to reason with consciousness. That's us. That's all of us, no matter where we're at. We can do that. We're going to take our next break. We're going to come back and we're going to move into chapter 3. I'll see you then. Hi, I'm the host of New Thought Talk, Reverend Steve Walling, and I want to take a moment today and give you an opportunity to support our ministry, support our show. You can do that through a PayPal payment. You send the payment through PayPal to the email address of Madera, MADERASAC @gmail.com. If you don't have a PayPal account, you can go down below the link and you can find where you can enter a debit or credit card. I want to thank those that have supported us and those that will continue to support us. You have a great day. Bye.
Pour yourself a glass of Crybaby wine, available at the market and Sam's Italian Deli. And remember to ask for Crybaby wine at your favorite restaurant. If your home floods, who will you call? When your house springs a leak, it's time to call Clean Master Emergency Flood Service at 559-213-9430. Clean Master will be there in 60 minutes to start fixing your home. And Clean Master bills your insurance directly, saving you the hassle because you've got enough to worry about. Clean Master also offers carpet and upholstery cleaning, carpet repair, pet odor removal, and more. Remember, Clean Master Emergency Flood Service, 559-213-9430, and visit cleanmasterflood.com.
Ghost Golf is Fresno's most spectacular family entertainment center. It's frightening how much fun you'll have on our 18-hole indoor haunted graveyard course. Skeletons welcome you, but watch out! All sorts of creatures may come to life. Ghost Golf is perfect for scary good parties, so book yours today. You'll get free plays at the Mummy Shooting Gallery, arcades, and air hockey. Check out our party and weekday specials online and like us on Facebook. Come play at family-friendly Ghost Golf. Yeah! Good times will haunt you.
At McDermott Counseling, you will receive the highest level of care and a welcoming, safe space in which to discuss your most personal issues. Our therapists go above and beyond for you. Call 559-280-5756 or visit McDermottCounseling.com to find a caring therapist who best suits your needs. Diane Ainsworth's books of poetry and scriptures are available at CondioPress.com and as ebooks at Amazon.com. Diane hopes the words in her books will convey the unconditional love Jesus has for you. Learn more at God'sInspirationsBlog.wordpress.com and get a copy of Diane's books today.
Hello everyone, my name is Miss G. I offer fun and affordable promotion and advertisement on my talk show. It is called Fresno Vibes. We talk, we play awesome music. I also feature a bunch of different bartenders from different places. I like to have restaurants. I like to have any event, any kind of fun stuff. Contact me at rmgmissg@gmail.com and we will have so much fun and we will promote your business, promote your event right here on my show. So contact me. We'll have fun. Thank you.
Hi everyone, everyone. I am Sparkle Sujin with the Everything Sparkle Show. Tune in every Thursday live at 4 p.m. You will see people that are motivational, inspirational, inspiring, and of course, entertaining. We have a great time. We learn things about how big celebrities are inspiring big names here in Fresno. Hugh Hefner is the reason we have Fresno Magazine, and Gnarly Charlie got his start because Johnny Carson told him to. So, tune in, you'll learn something new, and have a good time.
Welcome back to New Thought Talk. I'm your host, the Reverend Steve Walling, from the Spiritual Awareness Center, Fresno, California. Moving forward, Chapter 3, this thing called life, or the art of life, be published under either one of those titles, written by Ernest Holmes. And he opens Chapter 3 with the statement, he says, life goes on, but are we making the most of this thing called life? Big question. We talk about life. As I mentioned earlier in the show, that Thomas Trord, Judge Trord, said, and he said it in the Edinburgh lectures, and I'm sure it's in other places, I just don't recall off the top of my head, but, our purpose for being here is to live life at an ever greater and higher degree of livingness. That's our purpose. Now, in that description of our purpose, there's nothing that says we've got to be the one with the greatest number of toys, or the greatest wealth, or the greatest this, that, or the other. What it says is we are purposed to live our life at a greater and higher degree of livingness, at the highest degree of livingness that we can achieve ourselves individually. And in truth, everything that we could need, want, and desire in order to do that is available to us in potential. Part of the gift of life to us before we ever open our eyes. Tapping into that can be a journey, as we are learning and we're talking about. But participating in that, think about this. Have you ever done anything that when you got to the end of the doing this, now, it may have been a struggle, it may have been a struggle that you enjoyed struggling through, it may have been a struggle that you really had to push and persevere, that you had to be your own greatest cheerleader, telling yourself that you can do it, and believing at some level that what you told yourself has some level of truth in it, but you didn't give up. Now, there may have been failures along the way. You may have had to revamp, reconfigure, but you continued to move forward until you got to that point of success. And at that point of success, how did you feel? There's a feeling that goes with that. Whether individuals that are in competitive sports, they know that when they've done their best and they have persevered and they have achieved their goal of winning, or wherever they're at in their work. It's that way for a writer that has written a book that is a worthy book, a worthy product. It's that way for anyone, as they move forward and they achieve. And you see, that's what living at a higher degree of livingness is about. Now, people will tell you that there's almost a letdown once you succeed. Once you have set a goal, we'll use goals for example, and you've achieved that goal, there's almost a letdown. Well, there is and there isn't. Part of that is you've achieved your goal. So the excitement, the working towards that goal, which oftentimes carries a high degree of self-satisfaction and maybe adventure and excitement along the way. And then you've achieved your goal. It's like, well, there you are, you've arrived. But if you evaluate your life at that point and realize that goal is not the end point, that goal is just one step in a greater climb, in a greater journey, and you create, if you haven't already, you create a new goal, something to move towards, to overcome, to transcend. And you continue to do that. You don't have to have anything that anyone else has in order to do what it is that you can conceive of yourself as doing. And that's one of the things that oftentimes we limit ourselves because we think, well, because we don't have, and whatever we don't have, you know, as we've self-defined it, that we can't do whatever it is that we want to do. That's not true. It may be true right now in the moment, but it's not true if we commit to the journey and we begin to move forward. What we may find as we're moving forward is that our goals will change. Maybe what we thought it was that we wanted wasn't really what we wanted. So maybe we don't have the tools to get to that. But as you shift your focus, you'll find that you have the tools to get to where ultimately you want to go. That's understanding that, incorporating that, and utilizing that in your life empowers you at levels that a lot of people they have no clue, and yet it's available to each and every one of us. That's part of what it was that this master teacher taught. And if we look through a lot of the wisdom of the ages, whether it be mystical or other metaphysical or even mainstream spiritual teachings, even philosophical understandings, we'll find a lot of that repeated there and there and there and there again. So life goes on. But are we making the most of this thing called life? That's our challenge. Are we making the most? And we can answer that challenge with a yes, even if we're at the starting point. And then we move forward from there. He says he talks about imagining fish in water, and if you will, that, asking a fish to realize that, they're surrounded by water. Well, obviously that's not an issue, but that's a metaphor that he's using about understanding that we're surrounded by, immersed in this thing called life, this thing, this principle, this power, this presence. There's no place, no space where God is not, where your availability to God is not at the level of your faith, confidence, and belief and acceptance. He says, I want to move forward here. He says, life by which you and I are surrounded is the essence of all life. Our little space, if you will, is the essence of all life, everywhere. And it's all, again, it's part of that one life, that one idea, that one consciousness. He says, there's some truths about the nature of this life which we must realize before we can consciously use it. First of all, life is pure intelligence. Consciousness, intelligence. That's a concept. It's a concept many of us haven't considered until we came into contact with the idea of new thought. Oftentimes our self-definition or the definition we received growing up was that there's life, then there's the creator out there somewhere, and we're not part of the same. But that's not true. There's one life. We're all part of that. It says, first of all, life is pure intelligence. You and I do not conceive of such an infinite intelligence in its entirety, but we do conceive of it in some degree because we are in and of it, and some part of it is in and as us. One life, your life, my life, one. He said, life creates by making things of itself, out of itself. Awesome. Think about it. Let us start with a simple proposition that life, which is spirit or intelligence, is the sole and only creative agency in the universe. In the beginning, there was, and that's it. It's still what is. It is the single creative source and force, intelligence and power and substance of all that is. Oftentimes we make the mistake of, because we have the ability through our thought to be creative in our life experience. Thoughts create, they can be very constructive by creating destructive things in our life experience, because that's where we put our consciousness and that's where we plant our thoughts. Or they can be constructive. As you go through the day, catch yourself, see what you're thinking. As new things come into your life, one of the things about the way our our brain works is new things. What scientists and psychologists call the novel, okay? New things. We are biased evolutionarily to see the novel from a preparatory response to something of a less than positive nature, okay? Fear response. That's an evolutionary design in the brain that kept our ancestors safe. Got it, works. Doesn't apply today, but it's still there, and it's still working. And I've mentioned this in the past, and you can, if you want to spend a little time and look up, you can, use one of the search engines. You look up the research that the Navy did for their SEAL program to overcome the fear mechanism in the brain. And I'm not going to go into it right now. It's there. You can find it online. And if you take the time to do it, you can put it into practice in your life, and it will serve you well. But you got to take the time to do it because you got to be responsible. That's part of living the life, right? He says, life creates by making things out of itself, okay? Let us start with a simple proposition that life, which is spirit or intelligence, is the sole and only creative agency in the universe. God is all that is. This life principle always existed and will always continue to exist. You are part of its self-expression. Therefore, the whole desire of life is to give you more life. Your purpose, live life, higher, greater degree of livingness. You define what that is for you because God, Spirit, Principle created you as an individualized being and a perfect expression to live that purpose. And that purpose is within you on some level. Now, it may not be within you as a defined word-for-word type definition, but it is within you as a desire to express in a certain way. Think about what it is that in your heart that you want to express, whether it be beauty or art or music, whether it be in relationship, whether it be in talking to people, whether it be in study, whether it be in just expressing and experiencing life through ways that you can do that. It doesn't make any difference. It's yours, special to you, singular, and it was given and gifted to you for you, that you may take this and develop it as you in your life experience and expression. We're going to take our last break. See you when we come back.
If your home floods, who will you call? When your house springs a leak, it's time to call Clean Master Emergency Flood Service at 559-213-9430. Clean Master will be there in 60 minutes to start fixing your home. And Clean Master bills your insurance directly, saving you the hassle because you've got enough to worry about. Clean Master also offers carpet and upholstery cleaning, carpet repair, pet odor removal, and more. Remember, Clean Master Emergency Flood Service, 559-213-9430, and visit cleanmasterflood.com.
We forget about the higher good of food, right? You're growing a product that people enjoy really all over the world. I mean, how does that make you feel?
I think about that all the time. I think about the families sitting around a table, enjoying a meal. I just see that what we do brings families together.
I mean, we're blessed. We're in paradise for food.
The Kern family of the Kern Family Farm invites you to eat delicious, nutritious, organic produce available at the Gnarly Carrot. Located at 32954 Road 222 in North Fork, California, the Gnarly Carrot is a local, natural, seasonally changing market offering a wide range of products from local Central Valley vendors. Get your caffeine fix, grab a smoothie, and support small businesses. Learn more at kernfamilyfarm.com and visit the Gnarly Carrot today. Doctor in Sukasa allows you to connect with your doctor when you need a quick treatment. Avoid a trip to a medical clinic or emergency room and connect by video with your doctor from your home, work, or anywhere. Just go to drinsukasa.com on your phone, tablet, or computer. Dr. in Sukasa provides quality care that is convenient, bilingual, and affordable, so you are never left without access to health care. Visit drinsukasa.com today.
Welcome back to New Thought Talk. So, moving forward, in chapter 3 in this thing called life, or the art of life, Holmes is talking about life itself, what it is. He says it's intelligent. He says we are immersed in it. We are expressions of it. And he's laying this out because as we move forward, we're going to talk about actually utilizing this consciousness, this energy in our life. And we'll get to that next week. But he says the intelligence of life is our intelligence, okay? We're not separate from. It's not something beyond us. It, in fact, is our intelligence. He says, we've all been trying to find out just what our relationship to life is because we know by pure intuition that if we could establish a right relationship with the invisible, we would find peace, health, harmony, prosperity, and happiness. Powerful statement, a lot of truth there, but the map for our personal life experience to get to that point is a map that we create via the choices that we make. Are we willing to give up what I'll call bad habits of thinking and seek to embody constructive, quality habits of thinking and reap the rewards of thinking in that way? Because ultimately, that's what we have to do. If you believe in limitation, you experience it. If you believe in hate, you experience it. If you believe in evil, you experience it. I'm not saying that these things don't exist in the world. They do. But we can have a very great influence on their influence within our life, but also in their continued existence in the world. It's a story for another day, but it's very near and dear to my heart. We'll talk about it sometime. He says, our difficulty is that we've been trying to unite that which has never been divided. What does he mean by this? When we see ourselves and the other, all right, we already have a point of division, don't we? Trying to use the outside, the other, to create happiness and goodness and prosperity in my life, okay? Not work that way. Okay? Starts from, comes from, generated, expressed from, and we are the directors of that, okay? He says, one of the world's greatest biologists has stated that mind is the only creative agency science has ever discovered. Mind. Your mind, my mind, our individualized use of and the expression of that one mind. There's one mind. That mind is God. That mind is our mind now. He says this divine union, you talk about us and the divine. He says, which Jesus proclaimed, we must rediscover and make use of it, for we know that God can do anything. Life has no restrictions, no limitations. It doesn't want for anything. It is perfect, and it is within us. You, me, one life. Can you know it? At what level do you know it? If you are a practicing New Thought individual, where are you in your practice? Okay? At what level are you willing to accept the divine, the absolute, as your day-to-day life experience, provider, purveyor, guidance, protector, however, whatever? Okay? Where are you at today? Because wherever you're at today, by the end of the day, you can be a little bit more. Tomorrow you can be even more yet. But you got to work at it. In order to experience and express a higher degree of livingness, The responsibility lies within us and as us, not only one to perceive it, to see it, but to do the necessary things, to take action, to move forward in this adventure, if you will. He says, there is a wellspring of life and perfection at the center of our being upon which we may draw, but only if you know it, only if you accept it, okay? He says, every longing, every yearning you have ever had, every secret desire of your soul, every constructive ambition you have ever had is a whispering of this life, assuring you that you are one with it. Wow. You know, when I first started reading and studying in what we call the textbook and other writings from Dr. Holmes, it was like I was amazed. These were things that on some level, intuitively, I knew. I just didn't know necessarily that I knew it in that way until I began to read it and realized that where I was headed was the journey home. And I hope for you that you realize that there is a journey home. And the journey home is the same journey, if you will, that the prodigal son made when he realized that his father's house had a whole lot more to offer than where he had put himself out in the world. Because we each put ourselves out in the world. It's what material life has taught us to do and be. He says, if you will take time daily to sense the presence of life within you, to believe in it, to accept it, it will not be long before this life, which you have known, will gradually disappear and something new will be born. A bigger, better, and more perfect you. That's awesome. It's a gift that only you can give to yourself. It's a gift that we're ultimately all expected to give to ourselves. And in so doing, it's a gift that we give to the greater world at large. You know, I know many people in the New Thought family that seek to create a greater world, if you will, so that, you know, people can live in greater degrees of happiness and harmony and goodness, all right? But they seek to do so by telling the outside what it's got to do, what it's got to be. And they say, yeah, you know, I do my stuff, but, you know, that's secondary. No, that's primary. And when we understand that that truly is primary, that we don't have to go outside of ourselves to create a better world, that the better world is created within us and then expressed. That's the way, that's the way it unfolds, okay? That's what awaits us. That's what we were gifted with. That's part of our purpose, to live at a higher, greater degree of livingness. Because life is that energy. Life is that goodness. Life is that harmony. It took evolution to bring humanity to the point of self-realization. In that evolutionary process, there was a lot of struggle, a lot of violence, a lot of things to be afraid of, a lot of things to limit our understanding of truth and absolute. But we don't live at that level anymore. We have risen above that. We now live at a level of whatever we choose in our relationship with the divine. If you look out in the world and you see a world that you want to see improve, to be greater, to be more full of love and harmony and goodness, it's not about what other people are doing or not doing. It's not about the limitations in the world. It's about what we're doing in and of ourselves, within ourselves, to create a greater and higher degree of livingness and thus create a greater world. We're going to cut it today. That's pretty much I may pick up the last couple pages of chapter 3. Life is, and it's awesome. So, Hold that thought. We'll see you next week. Know that you go through the week, the light of God surrounds you. The love of God enfolds you. The power of God protects you. The presence of God watches over you no matter where you are. God is there. You can always reach me through email or Facebook, and I do answer. Look forward to hearing from you. See you next week. Blessings, my friend.